Hi, everybody. Wishing all of you a very good afternoon. We're just going to wait for a couple more minutes for all the attendees to join in, after which we will start. Meanwhile, if you guys got any questions, please feel free to write them down on the Q&A button. We've got a Q&A box that you can see below. You can either post your question in the chat box or the Q&A button. We have received a lot of questions already, which I am going to address largely, but would welcome if you guys have any doubts, any questions at all. Just to let you guys know that we're eagerly waiting for your questions to be posted on the Q&A button. We'd love to take them. This session is going to be Q&A intensive. So what you're supposed to do is ask me any kind of question that you have on international scholarships. What kinds of scholarships are there? How do you apply for them? How do you write the perfect essay? How do you build a good profile for yourself? And which scholarships are actually available for Indian students and how much do they cover? So just for you guys to know, scholarships range from about 25% to at least 90%, which covers your academic fee. Then there are grants that cover your living expenses also. Some universities in the world also give you a 100% scholarship on your tuition fee. So there are tons of these out there, and we've set up a webinar to address any kind of questions about application, what is required to be done. When you apply for scholarships abroad, you have to present you have to fill a registration form, you have to write an essay, and also appear for an interview sometimes to make sure that you get approved, because there are tons of applicants right there and they're choosing the best one who can actually get awarded with the right scholarship. So very eagerly waiting for you guys to put down your question. I think questions have started pouring. Scholarships for masters in data science. What scholarships are available for bachelors, right? So I will, of course, give you a list of everything that's there. Just put down all the questions that you've got, that you've got, and I will address them one by one. Sure. I'll also cover some of these leading scholarships called Fulbright, called Rhodes Scholarship. While Rhodes is used for Oxford, Fulbright or the Nehru Centenary Scholarship is for masters. It can be used in the US. Nehru Centenary is widely present for the UK also. So you can apply for these scholarships that cover a large part of your study. Almost all of your fee is covered by that. And you get extra grants. You get stipend also to ensure that you're doing your research. You get your flight tickets also. So scholarships like Rhodes Scholarship covers your health insurance, covers your entire academic fee, covers any health surcharges that you get, and you get a stipend monthly also to ensure that you're studying, but also living a good life as a student. Of course, you have to stand out of every applicant who's applied for Rhodes or Fulbright, but these scholarships are extensive in terms of their scope. We've got a lot of questions now. I think we should start right away. Now is a good time to start. Just give me a second. Yes, I've got the questions and answer with me. I'd formally welcome all of you again. Hi, everybody. Wishing all of you a very good afternoon. I'm Preet. I head the undergraduate admissions for Upgrad Abroad. Upgrad is a technology platform and one of South Asia's largest higher education platform, indeed. And what we're doing is we help universities abroad design, develop, and deliver their curriculum on our platform. As a result of which, we've now been able to democratize education across the world on our platform. So anyone like you sitting at your home can start studying online from upgrad.com and eventually transfer to campus. We're now working with over 1,500 universities abroad on a direct admissions model, and about 100 universities that source their curriculum, source their courses on our platform, upgrad.com. These range from bachelor's, graduate certificates, master's, doctoral programs as well. So we do a wide range of those programs as well. Now that we've ventured into studying abroad through our division called Upgrad Abroad, I am more than excited to present today's webinar on how to apply for international scholarships, and would answer each and every question that you have. Just to build a good base, I think the two most imperative parts of your application to apply for financial aid or grant or scholarship are your essay and a profile. The profile largely transpires through your resume or your student's CV. What that says is, in the past 7 years or 8 years or 10 years or 5 years, what have you largely done as someone who's pursuing or aspiring to study abroad or to study in a world recognized or world acclaimed university. What is your academic and non-academic background like? That's one thing that you have to reflect through your resume. This activity is also called profile building. So it takes about 5 to 6 to even 7 years, through sometimes even 10 years, starting grade 8 all the way when you apply for master's degree, or starting grade 8 to all the way about 5 years from then when you apply for your bachelor's degree abroad, that you need a good profile, a set of community service activities where you've demonstrated a clear signal of you being a great leader. You've done a lot of extracurricular activities, all the awards that you've won, and any other activity that you've done beyond academia. And of course, your merit, your SAT score, everything that matters is included within it. For master's, GRE, GMAT is included. So this resonates with the profile that you have. If the university feels that you've got a strong profile, they're more likely to consider you than any other applicant when it comes to scholarship. This is how a typical profile of someone applying to the top 10 or the top 100 schools in the world, for that matter, looks like. It has the auxiliary part and it has the core part. The core part will have your GPA, it'll have your GRE score, it'll have your GMAT score, it'll have your LSAT score, your projects and your portfolio. For example, now here's something very important. The kinds of scholarships that are there. So scholarships will range from academic scholarships that are dependent on merit or your athletic background or your artistic background. So you can either be you can either clearly demonstrate that you have a superlative artistic ability, whether you paint or you write or you do theater, or some artistic ability that you have where you're showing excellence. Or if you're a good sports person, so athletic scholarships are there as well. Or 3, if you're academically very bright, then your application for scholarships is grounded in research. What all have you achieved so far? How many research papers have you authored? So on and so forth, right? So that's the core part of what a profile looks like. How is this important? So understand that whether it is a bursary or a scholarship or it is a grant, everything will ask for your student resume. That has to cover everything you've done in the last 5-6 years, right? The auxiliary part will have any additional supplementary experiences you've had, like, for example, Fulbright and Rhodes. Rhodes is spelled as RHODES. Rhodes and Fulbright are some of the most globally acclaimed scholarships in the world for masters. Both of them ask for your GPA asks for your GRE, GMAT, or the relevant exam scores. Both of them ask for your English proficiency. Both of them ask for your work experience. In fact, Rhodes clearly demands a 3 years of work experience. Rhodes is for Oxford University. You can, of course, apply for a Rhodes scholarship in the UK and get a full postgraduate degree at Oxford. Then you can cover internships, online courses. These are called MOOCs, MOOCs, massive open online courses that you can do at edX or Coursera. Then you've got extracurricular activities like MUNs, conferences, moot courts, any startup competitions, any business model plan competition. Volunteering would largely mean anything that where you've demonstrated community service. Entrepreneurship is largely, it doesn't really mean that you always have to open a startup. It just means that have you demonstrated your enterprising ability? Have you demonstrated that you're a great leader? These things are extremely evident in your student profile. What have you done? But remember that your profile has to be in synchronicity with the kind of course you're applying for. So if you've done a lot of things, but they don't, they're not coherently matching, then it doesn't make sense. Everything has to be in sync and coherent with the kind of course you're aspiring to do. I hope this part of it is clear. The other part that I want to cover before I start answering your questions is that a college essay is extremely important. So whenever you apply for a scholarship, they ask you your motivation, your aspiration. Why is it that you want a scholarship? Why do you think you deserve it more than anybody else who's applied in the world? So that essay has to talk about your story, right? So for example, there are a lot of empirical evidences that I can give to why I deserve the scholarship, but then there are certain things that you can't empirically prove. For example, your story, your cultural inheritance. Why is it that you've decided to pursue a specific course? Whether you represent a minority, whether you've extremely surpassed a few challenges in your life, and now is it that you want to academically pursue something at Oxford or Harvard or Yale. So these are some of the things that you're supposed to keep in mind when you write when you write an essay. Now also know that this year, as we talk, some of the important deadlines stand in your way. So somewhere in August and September is when the financial aid applications start opening. In fact, Rhodes Scholarship or Fulbright open as early as 1.5 years. So for the next fall of 2023-24 academic year, they've started now to invite applicants to apply for these scholarships. So of course you have to mention, here is how you get to the root of writing the essay. Why do you want to pursue your studies? Why are you interested in the program that you're applying for? For example, you want to study African studies or history, or you want to study music or psychology or data science or blockchain. Why is it that you want to do it? Why is it that you feel that blockchain is the future of the world? Why is it that you are uniquely, how will you uniquely contribute to the program or that field of interest that you have? What are your research interests? Is it that you are especially interested in something there where a lot of research has been happening and not much has been found? And sometimes it also helps to mention specific faculty members of that school who you especially want to work under, or a specific field in genetic science or data science or blockchain or cryptography or machine learning, where you feel that it's largely unexplored, like for example Web3 or cloud technologies or so on and so forth, right? What are the skills and expertise that you feel are required and that only that program can give you, which is why you want to go for that? And what do you want to do after completing the program? This is extremely essential when it comes to what role does that institution play in your life if you get to go to that university and finish that course. Talk about the faculty, talk about the laboratories that are there, talk about the infrastructure, talk about the corporate partnerships, talk about the research projects that the university has. But whenever you write an essay for a scholarship, make sure that they know that you know the campus. They know that you know the university. They know that you know how developed that program's entire digital and physical infrastructure is. Uh, Here are some of the extremely essential things that your past experiences in that field. For example, you have to clearly demonstrate that it's not that one day I woke up and I wanted to study blockchain and so I want a scholarship. You have to put a case. You have to tell me how are you more equipped, more sort of more ready, uh, more capable of doing research on blockchain or doing a master's in blockchain or doing a master's in DS or CS or cybersec than anyone else. So tell me, what are some of the past experiences you've had? Have you, if you've been doing Python or if you've been doing programming, and what inspires your interest in blockchain? Or for example, if you're a biology student, what researches have you done? What laboratory work have you done? Have you discovered anything already? You know, what leading academic experts have you been working with? Which research or coursework have you been following, so on and so forth, right? If you had any professional work experience, how did you put all your learning into practice and what did you finally find out? Because they want to know that how did you, I mean, what inspires you or what triggered you to pursue research in a specific domain, and what experiential or theoretical background do you come with? So theoretical is one, what everything you've done in your bachelor's, everything you've done until 12th. How have you practically put that into use and now realize that this is one of the most imperative areas of research where I now want to specialize? Has an experience-led approach got you there? Has someone's guidance led you there? Has a mentor led you there? How have you come to that point? And of course, so whenever you write a scholarship essay, they want to know concrete details. They want to know vivid quantification of whatever you've done. Like you can cite the research papers you've authored, you can cite the project that you've done. If you did it with someone's supervision, mention their name, mention what have you achieved. And then you can always attach anything that is a supporting proof to it. That largely talks about your college essay. I will start taking questions now. I'll keep this slide open in case you want to, sort of look through it. So we covered the 5 W's. We mentioned that I will be talking about that. So the when, why, how, what, why are you going there, which or when are you likely to start the program? So that's extremely important because these scholarship deadlines start a year prior. One of the most important question is how will you do the research or how will you study that? You have to, like I mentioned, lay down the complete story about your background and what are you exactly willing to do. How will you contribute? So these schools, when they ask you for scholarships, they really want to know how are you going to uniquely bring value to the classroom. So when I pick you for studying masters at Harvard or Yale or anywhere else, they're not just looking at what will they give you. They're also looking at what will you bring uniquely to the classroom and how will you wield your unique skills, capabilities, and most importantly, your past experiences in making sure that you enliven the classroom with intellect, you enliven the classroom with experience, you enliven and inspire the classroom with your specific knowledge set. So, what you bring is extremely important also. So I think I'll start taking your questions now. What are the prime? So I'll start with the first one, scholarships for masters in DS. Now, there are 3 kinds of scholarships. One is a typical merit-based scholarship or athletic or artistic-based scholarship, so which means your ability-based scholarship. Second is bursary. Bursary means that if you are applying somewhere and you fulfill the minimum criteria of that university, you automatically get disbursed. A specific amount of waiver automatically gets disbursed to you. That's called a bursary. Third is a grant. A grant can mean that it can either be need-based. So if you can specifically demonstrate your, proof of your low income, and a proof of your low affordability to a program outside India, but demonstrating that you're extremely intelligent, brilliant, writing a good essay, having a good profile to defend your case, that would largely mean that you can get a need-based scholarship also. A grant can cover anything between your tuition fee, flight tickets, and living expenses sometimes also, which includes your stipend also. So where do you find scholarships? On the university websites, on the government websites, and there are normal trusts across the world like Rotary, Fulbright, that are offering scholarships for anywhere in the world where you can express your intent and express your inspiration to go and study. What scholarships are available for bachelors? Like I mentioned, there is need-based scholarship, merit-based scholarship, athletic-based scholarships, artistic-based scholarships, or scholarships that are grants, right? Or of course, there are bursaries, scholarships for masters if I want to go for research. Of course, there are research-based scholarships also. You have to portray and demonstrate if you've done some research in the past, who was your supervisor. Also remember, especially at a master's level, when you go for postgraduate, a huge part or a huge component of your scholarship application is the letter of recommendation or the letter of references that you get from your previous faculty or from a corporate employer that you've served in the past. They have to mention and endorse your ability and skills and capabilities to be able to get a scholarship. So make sure you know that also, and you pay attention to that. How likely is it to be able to secure scholarships in Canada for Masters in Psychology? We're very likely. Like I mentioned, you need a good profile for yourself. I can show you so you can take a quick screenshot. Here is how it looks like. When it's about psychology, and everything here has to be about psychology. There are certain campus values that they look for, like being a good leader, like being good, being a good problem solver, which is why they value entrepreneurship so much. Like being socially engaged, proactive, which is why they look at community service so much. And of course, awards. So GRE, GMAT scores are important. So if on GRE's score, scale, if you're 300 and above, you're great. On a GMAT score, if you're 680 and above, you're great. 700 and above, you are superlative. But anything above 650 is good enough. GRE 300 and above is normally good enough. So apart from this, I think one of the most important things is that you have to demonstrate that you've always been an extraordinary achiever, which is why awards really matter. So if you want something at your workplace, if you want something in school, you have to demonstrate a clear consistency of you being an extraordinary achiever. What are the main points we should consider while applying for abroad education? So like I mentioned, your student resume, which is built up of your profile, your college essay that has your college essay should be looked at as a case study, or as you putting down 2 or 3 or 2.5 pages, making a compulsive, compelling story about who you are, which course are you applying for, and how is that course a bridge between who you are right now and where you're coming from, and the person you want to be, or the extraordinary contributor to that field of science, or field of arts, or field of technology you want to contribute to, or the field of business you want to contribute to. So keeping the institution as a bridge, how do you make a compulsive case of yourself applying for a specific university? Your college essay should sort of somehow look like this. It should have all of these things: your academic record, your demography, which means your ethnicity, your cultural inheritance, your work experience, everything you've done. But also remember that not everything is considered relevant. If you're going for psychology, if you're going for bioinformatics, if you sort of going for arts, pol science, for law, then moot courts matter more than saying, hey, I I went to this drama club, so on and so forth. It's not required. If it's about law, they're more bothered about your ability to tell us that what are some of the extracurricular or extra activities or awards you won in the field of law. So for with that you can sort of always put a case that you attended MUNs, moot courts, law conferences like across the world, so on and so forth. So it has to be very there. So and then work experience. You can't tell me that you were a sales intern somewhere. It doesn't matter to me. If you're applying for a Master of Laws, you have to mention which law firms have you applied to, which court, whether you intern for the High Court or the Supreme Court or the Civil Court of your city. You have to be clearly articulate. You have to clearly articulate what are the relevant work experience or stints you've had. Then how have you demonstrated or given a clear signal to your university you're applying to that you're a great leader? Have you stepped up to challenges? You have to mention all of that in the essay. If you led something from the front lines, if you brought about some change in the campus, if you were a student leader, if you led some initiative or something that led to a good outcome. So you have to put all of that into an essay and mention that. So for example, if in your graduate school when you were doing your bachelor's, if you were a part of a non-profit or a student body of which you became the chief or you became one of the most senior most parts of the forum, then that's something you can mention, right? Your special skills, abilities, everything you've done beyond academia, all of this has to be quantified. So rather than mentioning that, hey, that summer I interned here at so-and-so law firm, mention that, here is the law firm that I interned with. This was the exact field of law which I was interning with, and here is the amount of things here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I did at the internship, and here is how many stakeholders I helped, and here is the amount of growth that I brought to a legal firm. Now the growth can be in terms of stakeholders, financials, or how many appearances you made at the court, so on and so forth, or how many cases did you help your clients resolve, so on and so forth, right? So hope I could make you clear on main points, but always remember when it comes to main points, this is something that you have to extremely take care of. When it comes to this fact called projects or research, everything you've done, if you're going for an architecture course, then all the blueprints you've made, all the things that you physically brought alive after making the blueprint, and every little experiment or outcome you've been working on. So I think in my experience, one of the most instrumental things is that you can only go so far in explaining what all have you done. I think a lot of it matters on what have you achieved, what outcomes did it lead to. So they want a doer. If you're a doer, you have to clearly explain or make a case of what all have you, what outcomes have you brought about. Can you suggest some good countries for masters in DS? So US is one, Germany is one, data science, UK is a great country for that. Australia is good. You're talking about a field which is what the world needs at this point. So whether you talk about France, Germany, Holland, Ireland, US, UK, everybody in the world, every country in the world needs it. So I don't think, but if you're looking for scholarships, even Upgrad has a lot of scholarships that we give in the field of DS. So that is something that we can also look at. Let's go further. Give me 1 second. What things to focus on if academics of 12th are bad? So like I mentioned to you, scholarships are athletic-based, artistic-based, need-based, or merit-based. If your academics are bad, look at the other parts of it. So look at the auxiliary part of it. If you've been a leader, if you've done any enterprising initiative, if you've got some work experience, if you've got some internship. So a lot of students in school, or a lot of aspirants for masters while their bachelor's is on, go for a lot of internships. Keep your LinkedIn page very active. I think LinkedIn is one of the most instrumental tools for yourself if you want to get good internships. A LinkedIn page should have a good professional picture, a good bio for yourself, and a clear, updated version of your LinkedIn page, including your education, including every single activity or engagement that you've attended. Then you go to websites called upgrad.com, edX.com, coursera.com, udemy.com. Pursue a lot of online courses. They are free of cost, but keep adding to your LinkedIn page. LinkedIn has a unique feature called LinkedIn Learning. They give you a certification. They give you a license saying that, hey, you've professionally finished this course, and so you get a certified number for that. So there are 100 things that you can do if you're bad academically. But then it again depends on what kind of scholarships are available at the universities that you're applying to. For one, I know that Fulbright, Rhodes, and are one. But sometimes not all scholarships want you to be 85%. If you apply to a Rhodes scholarship, they sometimes want that if you are coming from a good Indian university, even if you've scored 55% above, you're okay. But there are 100 things that you have to do more than that. So for example, a letter of recommendation from a faculty person, or every other thing that you've done, the research papers that you've authored, extremely important. Yes. So hopefully I've answered you. I'll pick up some of these from the end. Do college recruiters and one second. Do college recruiters and scholarship evaluators see the LinkedIn profiles? Well, 100% yes. Your LinkedIn pages are your digital footprints, and if you have a good LinkedIn page, it is extremely important. So here's something that I have written down for you guys to go through. Like I mentioned, there should be a strong targeted exhibition of excellence across academics, community, and extracurricular leadership. Your skills achievement are extremely important. And the profile building activity that you do for 3, 4, 5 years have to be systemic, logical, research-based methods that you've applied or demonstrated for enhancing your chances for education goals. So you can mention any activity undertaken to create awareness of that sort. And also remember that a demonstration of effective, adaptive, and consistent. The key here is consistent. If water is able to break through a rock, it is not because water is very intense, it's because it's very consistent, which is why it can break a rock. So which is my point is, if you want to make a strong case, you have to be very consistent. They have to, you have to signal to your scholarship, the university you're applying to, the university you're applying for the scholarship to, have to signal them that you're extremely consistent all through these years. Here are some stats on LinkedIn that you may want to know, Sai Krishna. Sir, I couldn't listen if you answered my question. Nazneen, I just want to see what your question is. Just give me 1 second. How to get scholarships for undergrad in the UK? Like I mentioned, scholarships are available on the university's website, on the government websites, or sometimes even the Indian government offers, or the British government, or the British High Commission in India, or the Indian High Commission in UK. All of them cover scholarships. You have to apply to them at least 1 year prior. So if you're applying for next year, now is the time. When is the perfect time for you to apply for scholarships? So I applied for financial aid for 2020 academic year, 2021, and I applied for it in 2019 August. So 1 year prior is when it starts, almost every US university. So now is the time. Even if you're applying for a Fulbright or Rhodes scholarship, now is the time. Some of them deadlines may have already gone, so make sure that you're on your toes for it. But remember that you have to have a good profile, a great LinkedIn page with someone looks like it should have all of these things. Is the GPA calculated on the basis of 12th marks? GPA is your 12th mark or your bachelor grade. So the grade point average is whatever you've done cumulatively. So your bachelor degree has a CGPA attached to it. Now, if your school is not measuring your scores in terms of GPA and they're doing it in terms of percentage, then they both have an equivalency scale that 96% would mean how much GPA on a scale of 4 or 5 or 4.33, so on and so forth. GPA is actually grade point average, so I hope I answered you there, Dhruv. There are so many questions. I'm trying to get through them. My question about scholarship for MBA, MS, MCA. So it's not about the course. Every university has scholarships that they offer you. It's more about how do you get, what do you do to get that? So I'll cover LinkedIn a little later. Let me take you to this profile building. So here's also something that I want to share with you guys. If you want to apply for MBA specifically, here's what B schools look out for. They look out for leadership. If you started a new division somewhere, if you were in, if you were in your graduate, if you were doing your bachelor's or graduation, and you brought in new projects that you did, you brought in a new change in the student community. If you're going for an MBA, like you mentioned, if you have a prior work experience, if you jump started, a new project or enterprise for your company. So nowadays there's a lot of roles called EIR, entrepreneur in residence. There are entrepreneurship jobs. Entrepreneurship means that within the firm, you're scaling something, you're scaling a new division. If you introduce turnkey solutions, so turnkey is something from the scratch where you build something from nothing. So you have to make a clear case for it. That's where your essay comes into the picture. But you have to present outcomes, you have to quantify them in a very quantified way. You have to mention that uniqueness. If you've done something unique that nobody has, you started a non-profit or pursued an entrepreneurial path or wrote a book or researched for 3 years on a specific thing where you found a headway and you actually found a breakthrough for something. And you have to have a track record of success. If you want to get in the top 25 B schools in the world, have to make sure that you were on the top all through these 5 or 6, 7 years. Statistics or associations. So what are the stats like? Have you been associated with KPMG? Have you been associated with Deloitte or PwC or McKinsey? Some of these big names carry a lot of weight in it. So if you've worked for some of these firms, or they offered you a job, or you have clear statistics to back your story up that you're one of the most proficient, prolific applicants that they've never had, that makes sense, right? But admission officers also seek diversity. They want you to be diverse in terms of which community or demographics you're coming from. So make sure that you highlight that in your essay. So for example, it can be your cultural or your social inheritance can come from the occupational background that your family has, or the diversity, or your race minority, or your ethnicity, or what have you set out for in this world, so on and so forth. Should I apply for scholarships only after securing the admission? Namira, so financial aid and admission apps go hand in hand, okay? But some scholarships are given on campus, some are bursaries that you get at the time of admission as soon as you're enrolled, but also there are financial aid that you apply with the admissions. Please tell me about scholarships for undergrad in Germany. If you couldn't find some on your university website, might as well search on different German government scholarships, or a lot of non-profits or philanthropic or different philanthropic or sort of education funds run. So for example, at Harvard or Yale or UPenn, a lot of ex-students or their entire alum base have a scholarship fund that they normally put in money for funding the international students in the study. For example, some of the ex-students have donated millions of USDs to ensure that there was a scholarship fund in place in these universities. So you can always search that. Not necessarily is the university always going to offer it. There are external scholarship companies, external scholarship government or semi-government forums that give you scholarships as well. Which country is best for getting scholarships? UK and US give plenty of scholarships. Australia, in fact, also gives you a lot of scholarships. Germany gives you a lot of scholarships. Extracurriculars for UG in computer science. The fact that you build an app, the fact that you build a website, the fact that you programmed for a specific thing, the fact that you build a good algorithmic design, the fact that you've done UI, UX, what have you built? The thing with computer science is that you can show what you've built. And so everything goes in there. You can attend MOOCs, the massive open online courses that edX, Coursera, Udemy have. Build applications, build programming, uh, tools, build websites. There are 100 things to do, but more important thing is, have you built a static site, or have you built an app that actually is a SaaS, software as a service? So do we build an enterprise that's enabled and powered by technology, but is also creating value for the world, right? Do college names like IIT have more weightage? Yeah, I mean, who are you associated with makes a lot of difference. But you may not always, not everybody goes to the best colleges. Sometimes it's about these four things that I've highlighted, but also more importantly, where do you land up for your job? How much do welfare projects count? Well, look, welfare is a clear signal for community service, means how much of social proactiveness do you have? Um, what's the maximum number of words I can use in SOP? It's not a general thing. Every SOP depends, and every university has listed the clear amount of words. Only European countries give scholarships. No, everybody gives scholarships. Every country in the world. I want to take my master's degree from Belgium or Poland. Can you help me about the scholarship programs? Like I said, there are government scholarships, there are university scholarships, and there are need-based, merit-based, charity, philanthropic, non-profit scholarship funds. You have to research. It's not about where do I find scholarship. There are 100 places on the World Wide Web where you can find scholarships. It's more about what should you have to get a scholarship. Here's the profile that you need to have to get a scholarship. You can apply for 100 scholarships, but if there's no substance, what will you do by finding where do you get scholarships? So this is one thing. Your college essay is the other thing. I'm in the last year of my graduation, want to study abroad by September 2023, want a fully funded scholarship or master's. When should I apply for it? Now is when you apply for it. And your academics, when you're applying for your scholarship in the last academic semester or the second last, then you put your GPA until then. How much has your CGPA been until then? Which country is the best for masters in computer science? So the US and Germany both are great. What are some good countries of masters in fintech? Should I go for some B school in France? Well, Europe, in fact, Spain and France, Germany, they have good B schools. They have some of the finest B schools in the world. But for fintech is a hot sector. UK, US, Germany, France, Spain, they're all good parts of the world to be doing that. Which websites to look for scholarships? Well, there are hundreds of them out there. Depends on which country you want to go for. I scored 95 in English. Do I still need to answer IELTS? IELTS has not got anything to do with your CBSE score. IELTS is a general requirement for visa. IELTS is a general requirement for your university app. IELTS is more of a standardized testing system that they have for the for the globe, where it's more of a checklist. But yes, some university in the UK waive off IELTS as well. So that's something that your university decides. Is Canada good for learning finance? Sure, yes. Look, if Canada has some of the finest universities in the world, anything you do in Canada, anything you do in Canada or the US or anywhere in the world, if that university is a world-renowned university, always search for the course ranking. If the course ranking is also high, then go for it. Can you suggest some countries to study masters in civil engineering? Canada is good, the US is good, UK is good, Australia is good. Yeah, I mean, I think I've answered. So these four are really, really good. Germany is best for bachelor's in business administration. I'm not sure if that's a question or that is a statement. Doing masters in MS is good, or MBA is good in the field of HR. Sanjeevani, I think MBA is more of a networking and opportunity degree where you have a groundbreaking platform or a groundbreaking stage to network, build connections, solve business problems, work on case studies, and evolve as an entrepreneur, evolve as a business leader, look at the macro aspects of things, that how do you build an enterprise while specializing in finance or HR or marketing XYZ, but looking at the macro growth and transformation of uh, keeping the business idea in the center and building an empire, uh, you know, with it. And keeping the micro aspect or keeping the field in the center intensively, and then how do you build a huge organization around it. That's what MBA does, and it helps you meet with your future co-founders, your future business partners, so on and so forth. So MBA is more or less like uh, a very hands-on degree that you get, where you're putting your business skills at test and also learning them and adapting. And it has a very diverse cohort. So which means there's somebody from every walk of life, every domain, every field there. So you have different objectives, different outcomes also altogether for an MBA degree. MS is more or less like one domain intensive, that you want to specialize in data science or blockchain or cybersecurity or computer science. And you've delved deep into that aspect and you become a subject expert. So both are different in terms of the outcomes that you're looking to achieve. Which country is good to study visual arts? Almost every country is. I think you'd find a good scope in Europe, Canada, US, even Australia is going to be great. Is Italy a good option to do masters in DS? DS is a globally acclaimed thing. Your human capital goes really high if you have a DS degree with you, especially in these contexts or these times of the world. And I think you're going to be extremely relevant anywhere you go if you have a DS degree. How does a person who made a transition in industry make his profile? Well, your essay will play a good part there, that it'll explain the case of why. So anything that you can't prove empirically goes in your essay, right? Your essay should be covering all of these things. You can take a picture of this. So these are three here, three below. So introduction, your background, why this course, your goals in your life, and why this university. I'll also make sure that I cover this with you. I have almost answered all of the questions. I am going to give you my email address as well. You can always write to me for any specific questions that you have. Meanwhile, when you transition from one stream to the other, have to make a very compelling case as to how did that one field led you to believe that you will extremely thrive in the new field that you have. And if not, then why do you think you're best suited for that new field? So introduction is where you cover that what field of interest you come from, what is this case about. So for example, you start this by saying that how is your background like? Where did this all start? You don't necessarily have to say that as a child I used to do this or that XYZ, but the point is that where did the exact inspiration for that field of interest start? So if you look at this example, you don't necessarily have to mention that as a child I used to do this, I'm doing this XYZ. You have to mention that if I want to study biology or genetic sciences, or I want to study bioinformatics, here is how this started. Here is how my field of interest got triggered. And here is everything I've done to make sure that I develop my interest or nurture the interest. Jab when you're changing industries or when you change fields, you also have to make a clear, strong case for. It's not that one day I just woke up and I decided that I was going to study cybersecurity. You have to prove to the academic person at the university that what have you done so far to nurture that interest? What have you done so far to mature that interest in yourself? That hey, I just didn't come to this all at once. Here's when I realized I'm going to be good for cybersecurity, or cybersecurity is the future of the world in terms of these changing contexts. And here is what I've done so far to make sure that I'm clear that I want to achieve cybersecurity. Write about what you want to do in this course. Then all the information about your school or college goes here. A school would mean that which graduate school, your exposure, your industrial academic training and work experience that you've had so far. So which graduate school did you go to, or which university did you go to? What's your academic background like? Um, Everything you've done, but remember everything you've done in that field. So specifically mentioning that what did you do in that university. So here, but only relevant to that specific field. Remember that. That's the key word here. Everything should be relevant, right? So everything I done, like I mentioned, including citing the supervisor, who did I work under, how long was it. Remember, if you see this, everything is so quantified. Everything matches the qualitative and quantitative aspect of factors of when you're making a strong case for yourself, that what is the exact area of research I wanted to do, who did I work under, how long was it, when exactly was this, why did I do this. So here is how, sorry, if you look at the last line, here is when you believe that here's how my interests developed. So you have to make them believe, if you want to show them a change in industry, a change in field. Then why this course, go deep into the curricular aspect, deep into the modular aspect, deep into the faculty who teaches. It's not a joke. I'm actually serious here. You have to make them believe that, hey, I know what this course has to the finer granular aspects. Here is what I want to learn out of the entire curriculum. You don't have to list the curriculum down. They would know that you're copying it. I understand my point. They have to know that you're very familiar with how the curriculum is. Here are the 4 things or 3 things that you picked out. Here is the faculty that's going to teach you. Here is what you're looking out for in terms of your skill set. And here is where your interest lies. And here is where, here is where you left your research, and here is how that university will lift it up for you. Then your goals, like I mentioned, make that university, keep that university as a bridge between where you are right now and where you want to go from there. Provide a glimpse in your long-term and short-term goals. So long-term is where you want to be. Short-term is, of course, here is how you plan to do internships here. This kind of work is what you're looking for when you get the post-study work visa. Here is how you're going to get the most of that industry's presence in that country specifically. You can always take a picture of this. Why this university? Of course, talk about the infrastructure, the laboratory, the facilities that they give you, and not necessarily have to mention ranking all the time, but the fact that, look, they all already know what their university is all about. You don't have to praise about the university. You just have to let them know that, here is what I believe are the 3 most or the 4 most fundamental things that I'm looking forward to as a student when I come to your campus. And it could be about the corporate tie-ups. It could be about the academic tie-ups. It could be about the partner universities that their faculty has an exchange with. For example, a lot of universities in Boston have a regular faculty exchange with Harvard, have a regular exchange of faculty with MIT. So mention that but also remember these universities, depending on, I hope you can hear me right, depending on the program that you're going, every school in that university, school of business, school of law, has its own tie-up. So research around it. Like I mentioned, that's one word, always keep it with you. Research on the website, research that you're very well aware. You should be more informed as an applicant than anyone else. And then sum up in a paragraph everything that you've written. For example, somewhere here, I believe that the education, so my decision applied to the program stems from the career goal of becoming an independent investigator in the field of translational cancer research. The point is that they want to see clarity. They want to see focus. Now, not all of you are biology students. I'm just saying this is an example of how clear-cut and concise you can sound. But remember this one word called brevity. Your SOP or your essay should signal of that, very clear, very concise, very articulate about the clarity that there is in your mind about the university, the course, everything else. For example, you also have to prove to them that what are you most looking forward to as a student. Now, some of you are wondering, why am I covering the SOP? It's not really an essay workshop. The point is, your essay is the only deal breaker in your scholarship application anywhere you go. It's the essay. That's number one. Your profile is second. If you're sitting with me now with your application deadline in your hand, or it's next year, there's not much you can do in 1 year. I mean, I encourage you to do as much as you can, but of course, there are applicants there who are doing this from the last 4 or 5 years. Essay is the only deal breaker. So make sure that you have a clear-cut essay. So for example, this person talks about what techniques does he know how to use. So there is a lab that is there in the university he wants to apply to. And so he says that that's very much the line, in line with the type of cancer research I'd like to do. And he wants to focus on a specific area of research. I pick the student anyway blindly, any day. The point is because he knows what he wants from the university. Likewise, that's how your essay should be, like very streamlined with brevity and a very articulate, comprehensive ability to put down your compelling case. That's what's important. I hope I answered every single question. I know there are about 95 of them. I have put down my chat box, my mail address on my chat box. I will write to you again. Yes, I just put down my email address. I know there are a lot of questions right now, I think, but we've crossed the 40-minute timeline that there is. Here's what I'll do. Yes, 100% scholarships are doable. A lot of universities offer that, right? If you don't have work experience, there are hundreds of ways to. So if the program needs work experience, that's why it's only then is it's important. If the program does not need a work experience, it's not important. And in terms of the fact that some scholarships in the world which are not from the university, they need work experience, then I can't help you. But if you don't have it, then you can only go for a limited number of courses. So I don't see the point of asking this. Where do I find research scholarships for Eugene, Germany? Hundreds of websites are there. If not, then you should go to the university or go to the international relations department, or just write to me. I know of a website that I was told by an ex-student once who started in Germany, who did get a German government fund grant. How to cross-check the funding agent or grant section organization that it's genuine, or read more about hidden terms and conditions. Diksha, every university typically talks about all external scholarships also. So for example, these Rhodes scholarship, Fulbright is very well renowned, but every university, when you go apply for, when you click on financial aid or scholarships, they will tell you, here are the on-campus scholarships, here are some of the alum funds that come here are some extra scholarships that you get, and here are some external scholarships that you can apply to, which are funded by a concern or an entity outside the university. So it's mentioned on the university website. You can always call up the university and also say if so-and-so grant is recognized by you, or some grants are not recognized by the university. The grants come to you as a student. The best way is that you can always check their authenticity by searching about them sometimes, if they're listed on any of the university's website, or if there's someone on LinkedIn who's won that scholarship. So you can always search. There are 100 ways to search that. You just have to be smart. But also remember my one final tip, everybody who's here, that keep your LinkedIn pages very open, very updated. They should be very well curated. They should have your bio, a formal picture, should always be active. So what you're supposed to do is put every professional update on it, not all your life activities that you do every day, but everything you've done academically and non-academically on the work front. But make sure that you author a lot of documents. In this time, I think universities value leaders the most, universities value doers the most, universities value those who can author content, those who can create content, those who can be enterprising, those who can be entrepreneurial. So things that reflect that or signal that can either be your CV or your LinkedIn page that can tell a potential scholarship evaluator about these interests. I wish you guys all the best. I hope I could add value to your life. And I hope I could answer everything that you told me. If there's anything else that we can definitely help you with, we have a good comprehensive profile building webinar that we'll do very soon. We will reach out to you for that, which covers everything on how do you build a robust profile for yourself. Meanwhile, before I go, here's a quick picture that you can take. Just take a quick snapshot of it. And this is what you focus on the most if you want to build a good profile for yourself. I wish you guys all the best, and I hope I answered each and every question that you had. Thank you very much, everybody. My colleague has put down a few links that you can use. Always feel free to write to me. I will reply to each and every email. Thank you very much. Goodbye.